right, so let's talk a little bit about let's talk about finding your niche. Okay, this is standing out in a crowded marketplace. So whenever you have 4 million books being published, what makes you different from all of those others, and how do you rise to the top? A lot of that has to do with your own self-reflection and finding your author niche. Um, and you can do that by kind of exploring your interests and your passions, and accessing your strengths and your weaknesses as an author. Um, for example, um, you can look at genres. So if you are listing books online, let's say on Amazon, okay, you want to look at keywords for your book, and you also want to look at the genres and subgenres that you want it listed under. I would research some of the top books in those categories, and you can look and see maybe how many books are in that category and how steep the competition is. So, for example, let's say if you are doing epic fantasy, that genre category is huge. And so you're going to get lost in that particular list, and it's unlikely that you will rise to the top of it. It's very difficult. It's a highly competitive group. So one of the things that you can do is look for ones more detailed. Get very granular on the type of book that you have, and find a category with less competition that gives you opportunities to have higher visibility with readers. That's a way to do it. But as far as like your author niche as part of like your branding and your overall who you are as a writer, I tend to fall in the business side of um, being an author. I think that my strength that I bring to the table as an author are my insights in business and finance, especially when it comes to accounting, marketing, numbers, the types of things that, creators are great at creating, but as far as keeping the books and doing all of the other things on the side and knowing all the legal ins and outs of intellectual property, contracts, etc., it usually isn't a very big strong point for a lot of authors or even artists. And so I tend to focus a lot on those areas because I believe that those are my strengths. And so you need to find what works for you and what your strengths are and what you have to offer the community as far as, networking and growing who you are and building your brand. As far as listing books under certain genres, of course, you're going to want to explore popular genres, and you're also going to, like I said, get granular on it, and look at those bestseller lists, look at the reviews, see where they're at, see where things are hot, and put yourself, in the line of fire, if you will. Identify any gaps. So where maybe there's a high demand, but the supply is low. That's what you're looking for. You're going to want to kind of focus in that area. People are looking for that book, but there's not a lot out there, so you have a better chance of being found. Get creative, get innovative. You can mix genres and blend them together. So mixing science fiction with fantasy, you got science fantasy kind of thing. So you're hitting two different genres there. You're maximizing your potential audience, making sure that whenever you are looking at the audience, that you have that audience clearly defined and what their particular interests might be. So you might go out and join Facebook groups that, like, let's say you want to do science fantasy, then you might look for Star Wars groups to join, because those are considered science fantasy and not science fiction. So those people might actually like what you have to offer. And then you're going to want to, do your testing and validating. Like, you might leave your book in a certain category for a while. And if you don't get a lot of bites, you might want to go back and revisit it and rethink it. The market may have changed. It might have shifted if you see decrease in sales. And so you might want to move. The market is very fluid. So what's at the top of the list this month might not be at the top of the list 6 months from now. People might be looking for something completely different. And so you have to be fluid, and you have to go in and maybe change those listings, update them as you go, as times change. And that's usually, once a year, do an audit of all of your books online and determine whether or not you're listed in the right genre, that your keywords don't need to be changed up, and that, and if you want to stand out in your niche, of course, making sure that you have that authenticity and that consistency, and that you are creating good work with compelling stories and characters. So you want character depth and engaging plots. And as long as you're writing something that is good quality, people will eventually find it. And the more people who find it, then the more you'll rise to the top.